Hello everyone, and welcome to the first gameplay video for The Evil Within 1. I'll be playing the base game and its 3 DLCs throughout the entire playthrough. Important information: please check out the useful guides and links in the description of this video. This first gameplay video will be about 1 hour long, so I have time to talk about general stuff and get a lot of it out of the way. Time to beat on this game, the base game, is roughly 16 hours to 20 hours. And then the first DLC assignment is 3 hours to 4 hours. The second DLC, Consequences, is 3 to 4 hours. And then the third DLC, Executioner, is 2 hours to 3 hours. So roughly that's totaling about 35 hours plus. I think it'll take me to get through all of it, so maybe even 40, who knows. I do have experience with the base game and the 2 DLCs. I haven't played much of the Executioner DLC, but I'm going to be taking my time. I'm going to be exploring and not rushing through the game, so this will be a long playthrough. Type of gameplay is going to be on normal or survival mode, and then collecting anything special as much as I can concerning the collectibles that were talked about in the introduction video for this game. So look at the menu options real quick. So I have a continue for, I think there's an autosave. I can go ahead and delete it. Doesn't matter. And I just have my last clear of the game, which was back in 2021 apparently, on survival, and it took me about 12 hours and 43 minutes. So that's why I have a continue. I'm going to keep option. I'm going to keep that save, just create a new one. New game plus. Downloadable content we'll look at when we get to the downloadable content. And then model viewer, the base game and the first 2 DLCs have model viewers where you can look at 3D models of characters, enemies, bosses. Gives a little description about them, their names and all that. I intend to show those off at the end. So at the end of the base game there'll be a video. At the end of the 2 DLCs they'll each have their own video for looking at the 3D model viewer stuff. Credits, we'll see that when we beat the game. And options, I'll just briefly skip through them here. If you'd like a more detailed breakdown of what all this is and does and why I have it set the way I do, please watch the Config and Tech video for The Evil Within 1. But I'll briefly just scroll down. Most of this is all default. I think it is all default. Subtitles might be off by default, but I always turn those on. I am using keyboard and mouse, but my bindings don't really matter. Toggle for sneak mode. You can have it be hold if you want. And then I do have my mouse sensitivity set to 14, and my DPI setting on my actual mouse is at 550. Brightness, I'm choosing to go with 60. 50 is the default. It's still pretty bright, or pretty dark at 60, but I don't want it to be too bright. Film grain's completely off because I don't like film grain. And then here's the core settings. Full screen, letterbox mode off. 1920 by 1080. It says 30 FPS, but I'm actually using unlocked frame rate in the game, and I'm locking it to 60. Actually 61 in my graphics card. And that's all explained in the Config and Tech video. I recommend you watch that. Anti-aliasing, all of this stuff on as high as it can be. Motion blur I don't like. I always turn off usually, or always, in any game. I would turn depth of field off, but it's not a choice. And then audio, master volume, music volume, voice volume, sound effects, cutscene volume all maxed out to 100. So that about covers all that. So first we'll watch the opening cutscene, and then I'll go over game controls and the UI as I'm able to. The game doesn't give you access to all the controls for a while, so I can only show you what I can show you until the game kind of opens up. The first little portion of the game is kind of just hold forward and, you know, progress through. You don't really have to do much. So anything else that I want to cover? Nothing else really to mention at the moment. Don't believe. Let me just get back to my notes here. To the controls, okay. So that covers all that good stuff. So we're going to do new game. Let you pick your brightness again. And then here's where you can pick the different difficulties. The mask is like different on each one you pick. So when you first play this game, this is from memory. You only have access to casual and survival. Casual is easy mode and survival is normal. And then I believe when you beat either casual or survival, that unlocks Nightmare and Akumu. You may have to beat... I think you definitely get Nightmare unlocked, no matter which of these you beat. But you may have to beat survival for it to unlock Akumu. You may have to beat Nightmare to get Akumu. No, that can't be true. Maybe you do. I'm not exactly sure how that works. I think you just have to beat at least survival to get these other two, but you may be able to do it just on casual. So anyway, it says once the difficulty level has been selected, it cannot be raised during gameplay, but it can be lowered. Lowering the difficulty during gameplay will restart the chapter. The difficulty setting can be changed in-game via the options menu. So yeah, just take note of that. If you started out on Nightmare and you're like, oh, this shit's crazy, and you want to bump it down to survival, you can do that, but you can't then increase it back to Nightmare. You'll have to start a whole new playthrough. And I'll read you the descriptions here. So for casual, which is easy, for the weak and fearful, auto-aiming enabled by default and slightly more ammo than normal. And I do believe you only get auto-aiming on casual, or the option to use it. I don't think you can have... I guess we could look. We could just back out and look. And let me see what it does here. Oops, I just changed it to French. Okay, you can adjust it here. I don't know. Probably because I haven't picked a difficulty yet. Obviously, I'm not going to use it. But I was under the impression that you could only get auto-aiming on casual and that survival normal mode didn't offer it. Standard difficulty, challenge and overcome your fears. Nightmare, true to the word, prepare to die. And Akumu, one hit and it's all over. Worse than Nightmare, this is pure hell. In Akumu, though, you do still get, like, autosaves, I believe. You definitely get checkpoints. So if you die, it's not like you go right back to the menu and have to start the game over again. You do at least go back to a checkpoint. That would make it super crazy hard if, like, one hit and you're dead back to the title screen. But it doesn't do that. Nightmare, I do know what the different harder difficulties just from watching speedrunning by Jigsaw Killer. You're going to hear me mention his name a lot because he's my go-to source for anything Evil Within. He also runs Resident Evil games as well. He doesn't really play Silent Hill games. I'm not sure why. I'd be curious to know from him why he doesn't really play them. But, you know, Silent Hill games play differently. They're more explorative adventure, whereas Resident Evil... excuse me, and Evil Within are more about, you know, shooting and kicking ass. But anyway, watching his videos, he said at different times, you know, that the enemy placement can be different, and enemy animations are automatically faster, besides the frame rate of them being actually sped up to the point where they can unfairly kill you even at 60 FPS in this game. You can get unfairly killed by sped up animations. But besides that, if you're playing at 60 FPS and you're speedrunning on a Kumu, say, they're automatically sped up even more because of the difficulty. Obviously, item placement and all that stuff is going to be different. But there are a lot of variances between. But those are the descriptors for the difficulties. And we're going to be playing on normal because that's what I do when I play games on my channel. And in general, I don't ever... I'm not that good that I can, like, you know, tear through a game on Nightmare or the hardest difficulty. So let's get into the game here. Here's the opening cutscene for you. Hope you enjoy it. Enemies can be distracted by throwing bottles. This is true.
All units, 1199, expedite cover code 3, Deacon Mental Hospital.
184 copy, code 3, ETA 3 minutes.
Copy 184.
Sorry, detectives. I know you're just coming off a case, but I'm afraid we're gonna have to make a detour.
Sounds serious. Is it a riot?
A call went out just before I picked you up. Said it was multiple homicides. Half a dozen units already on scene.
131, please advise.
Hey, maybe it's the ghost of that doctor who went schizo and chopped up all those patients.
That's not what happened. Some patients disappeared. Some kind of scandal?
Still, gives you the creeps, doesn't it?
127, 124, please respond.
Joseph, you think there's a connection?
It's a possibility. I believe the records were sealed.
Anyone on scene, respond.
Dispatch, this is Detective Castellanos in 184. What's the situation? Over.
184, be advised. Some problem with Chimone on the Deacon Memorial.
Is there any...
God damn it! Jesus!
Junior Detective Kidman. Any thoughts?
Nothing yet. I'm sure we'll know everything once we get there.
What do you make of it?
Connolly, contact dispatch and let them know what's happening. Joseph, Kidman, you're with me. We're gonna have a look around.
Right.
Okay, so now we have control. Chapter 1, an emergency call. So before I explain anything too much here, these two are going to keep walking. They split off from each other. I'm going to go with Joseph because he's got a little more dialogue. If we follow him, Julie's going to go off that way.
There are no weapons left in their cars.
So this takes place in Crimson City, kind of like Resident Evil's, you know, Raccoon City.
No blood or shell casings out here.
Okay. So yeah, this is Joseph Oda on the left and Julie Kidman on the right, and we're playing as Sebastian Castellanos. We're basically like a detective, or we are a detective, not like one. And then they're like, I think we're kind of training, like he's kind of, Joseph is like, you know, our second in command, kind of that we're, you know, training, teaching things to. Same with Julie, but I think she was transferred from like another department. So we can walk around out here. They're gonna just stand here and wait. So we can only like walk. We're not actually running right now. We're just walking. We can't crouch. We can't access inventory. Nothing. So this is why I can't explain a lot of the controls to you just yet. Looking at the, I like to look at skyboxes in games, and this one's functioning in a different way than usual. It's not really moving side to side, it's kind of, I don't know, like bellowing out from the middle for the effect. It's kind of cool. I also like how the water is dripping off of this symbol here. So this is like the Beacon Hospital. This is the Beacon Hospital. At the very top, it has kind of like a lighthouse beacon that actually goes and spins. And that's what this is representing, the top of the hospital, and those little areas going out to the horizontally are the rays the light would be casting. So you're going to see this symbol a lot throughout the game. But we can walk around and look. Can't really look at much, but so this is the first area you can really test the game out. I'll show you my readings here. I have a MSI RTX NVIDIA 2070 Super graphics card. I haven't upgraded my rig yet, so I'm still rocking a 2070. But this is an old game, so this game is more than suitable to play this game. But you can see my graphic and graphic card memory being used, my computer memory being used, my graphic temperature, my CPU temperature, how fast my graphic card fans are spinning, and how much I am actually using or utilizing my graphics card. So all nominal stuff. As mentioned, I am locked at 61 FPS. And this game is running in DirectX 11, but technically, theoretically, it's a OpenGL game, I think. But my readings aside, and you can see that the frame rate is not changing, it's staying where it should be. You can still see some slight stutter, you know, in the movement. Part of it is the aliasing that's happening on the bricks of the building. It's also partly the rain effect. This is not the best place to test your frame rate if you're messing around with like 30 in FPS to see what's best and see how your system's going to handle things, because there is a added effect of rain happening out here. Not to mention you have a pretty far view distance. It's better to test frame rate and things like that when you're indoors inside a building, because that's normally where you're going to be in a game, is inside a area with, you know, 4 walls. So this is Connolly out here. He's a kind of our watch policeman. There's a billboard up there. I don't think I've noticed that before. It's a little girl. I can't tell what the advertisement's for. There's actually a few billboards. So he's just standing watch for us. This is the car that we came in. So the Beacon Mental Hospital is a central area of the game. It's not like a safe zone, necessarily. It's really not safe. But you're going to hear it mentioned, to see it mentioned a lot. So yeah, Joseph Oda. Dude's really pimped out. I wish I could dress like this every day. I like his outfit. And then we have Julie Kidman. And of course, because it's, you know, modeling after kind of like Resident Evil characters. I mean, this game was made by Shinji Mikami, the guy who made Resident Evil, so he's allowed to copy his own game. But she's got heels on, of course, because, you know, when you're out saving the world and doing detective stuff, you gotta have your heels on. I can't look at her shoes too closely because I can't crouch, but they're kind of interesting shoes for being heels. They kind of have like straps across them. She's rocking like a little leg strap gun and holster. So spoilers, not really, but we get to play as Julie Kidman in 2 of the 3 DLCs that I'll be playing after we get through this game. The Assignment and Consequences. We get to play as her. So that's cool. And unfortunately, they did not give Joseph his own DLC, which I think is a real missed opportunity. Because The Assignment and Consequences is both Julie Kidman. It's like a 2-part, one DLC split into 2. And I wish they had just made one DLC for her and given Joseph one, and then I won't spoil what the third one's about until a little later. But because we all get split up eventually, and it would have been super cool to get to play as Joseph. He's got kind of that classic outfit that Leon Kennedy wears. He can get it like in the Resident Evil 2 remake, you know, like the vest and the gloves. Both Sebastian and Joseph have similar outfits on. They're slightly different. Sebastian will lose the trench coat here eventually. I also like how you can see the rain landing on... obviously there's a wet texture on the characters, but you can see the water drops hitting the characters' shoulders and their head. That's pretty cool. Alright, so I'm going to continue on in here. There's nothing really else to see or do. You can see how crazy the bloom effect is already. So I do apologize for any stutter that you might sense or see in the mouse movement. The game will play better with a gamepad, I assume, as far as the movement goes, but I'm going to have to play with a mouse pad or a mouse pad. I'm going to have to play with a mouse in this game to do well. I don't play games like this well with the gamepad. So I do apologize for it. I've tried to optimize and show you guys in the Config and Tech video the best way to optimize this game. I hope it helps you, and I hope it's helped me so that I can present this to you well, but I do apologize for any of that. And it may look slightly worse just because, you know, things like movement and color, brightness can vary when a game is being recorded versus when you're just playing it yourself. So let's just walk up here into the door, a little transition.
Smells like blood.
All right, stay sharp. We're gonna check it out. Don't let anyone else through this door.
I can be an extra set of eyes.
We don't know what's happening here. You're a backup.
Okay. So she's back up. See the symbol up there again for the hospital.
Did you hear something?
Yeah. So he's going to run on down.
Someone alive in here.
So now we get some extra speed here. Actually, we're not running yet. We're just still walking, but we can move quicker. Whoa. Actually forgot that happened. So yeah, if you walk this way to the right, this guy will slump over when you pass him. But you can also come this direction and nothing will happen, except you'll kick a box. So a little thing I wrote here that I wanted to mention now that we're in here. The Beacon Mental Hospital was inspired by the Winchester Mansion. Its architecture was of the Victorian and Gothic style. William Winchester was a famous manufacturer of firearms and ammunition. He died in 1881. The mansion is located in San Jose, California, and where his wife, Sarah Winchester, lived until she died in 1922. And funny enough, there's also a Winchester Hospital located in West Haven, Connecticut. Sarah Winchester created it to treat tuberculosis. So the actual Winchester Hospital has nothing to do with the look or anything of this, but the actual Winchester mansion, the house where he and Sarah lived, does. That's kind of where the inspiration for how this looks comes from and everything. So I thought that was pretty cool. The other thing I want to mention is this gentleman over here slumped over here on the bench with the book. This character, nobody knows who he is by the way he looks or his name, but he actually pops up a few times throughout the game. He shows up at the beginning of chapter 9, I think it is. I could actually confirm that because I made a note for myself later. It is chapter 9. And you will see him in chapter 9, or you may not see him or even know he exists because he's easily missable. I'll point out him there. He's also in one of Kidman's, Julie Kidman's DLCs, either The Assignment or Consequences. I will try to show you him there too, but I will most likely miss him there because he's kind of in a inconspicuous area where he's easily missed, and I've never actually found him there before, and I didn't know he was here until making this gameplay video for you guys. Out of the handful, 10 times, however many times I've played through this game in the past. I knew about him in chapter 9, but this is the first time you can see this guy, and I wanted to show him to you so you can see him. You can't tell what he's looking at in the book because it's too blurry and small, but you can see his face here. And people have shown, there's pictures online about this guy. People have been trying to solve the mystery. A lot of people think it's a developer in the game, and it probably is. Probably just their likeness, and they just put themselves in there in a few different spots. But he kind of has a unique face model, and people have zoomed in the other parts where you see him, and it's the same face. But this is where you see him the first time. He's just kind of an unknown NPC. He's, I guess, comparable to like the G-Man in the Half-Life series, where he just kind of pops up at different times. If you look a certain way in a certain area, you'll see him, and then he'll just kind of leave, It's kind of that kind of deal. So yeah, mentioning again, too, this game is made by Shinji Mikami, who created Resident Evil. You're going to see a lot of Resident Evil inspirations, and you're also going to see a lot of inspirations with Silent Hill. I'll try to point a few of them out when I see them or think about them, but I'm definitely not going to remember, recognize everything. This is the kind of game to even really pick up on all the story elements. You have to play it a few times, and to learn how to play it, learn how the game works. It's kind of like, I end up mentioning Dark Souls a lot in different games that I play. I am a big fan of those games. But it's kind of like Dark Souls where, if you've played Dark Souls, a lot of people can be easily put off by those games and miss great, wonderful games because of the gameplay and not understanding how the game wants you to play and how you were intended to play. And such as with Dark Souls, until you learn how to play the game, you're going to get nowhere quickly and often. And it can be the case for this game too. You kind of need to learn how the enemies work, how your weapons work, how your character works. How things can be glitched and exploited and whatnot will always help. So there's a lot to this game. So we're ready to move on here. There's nothing really to collect or do yet. And once we get close enough to this door, we actually can't go behind here right now. We will in a second just to show you. But once you get close enough here, you kind of just magnetize into an in-game cutscene. So let's walk up here.
Are you injured? What happened here?
Can't be real. Impossible. Ruvik is...
I've got him. The security cameras might tell us something.
Okay. Now the game wants us to just walk into that monitor, so now we can kind of free roam a little. I think we're stuck in a slow walk speed now because it wants us to slowly walk up to the screen, but if you ever wanted to see what was back here, you got a few bodies back here, and this lady. There's nothing back here to get or see. It would have been a good place to put like a little hidden thing maybe, because if you don't walk back here now and you walk up to the monitor, you can't come back here. You might can later, but not now. Okay, so back in we go. We'll transition to another cutscene.
What the hell?
Ratatouille. Uh-ohs. Nothing to be concerned with. He's just making up a salad. Chopping up some broccoli, you know. Okay, well, maybe not. It's definitely not a head of lettuce. You can sit here and watch him for a moment. Plop. Alright, so just keep spamming the interact key here. Try to get this knife. Yoink. Just want to crouch here, because now we can crouch. As long as we don't let him see us here, we're good. Once we get closer, he'll do other stuff. We haven't walked up close enough yet. Once you get closely over here, that happens. His body just comes sliding out into the body bin. So you walk up here, tells you to sneak. Just gonna creep around the corner there. So see, we already know this game is an absolute classic horror game because it has a gramophone in it. There's no denying it now. There's no disputing it. You can't dispute it. He just comes back. He can kill you here if you get up there and mess with him and he sees you. Yeah, if you guys, notice in my banner, I have a gramophone, so, and my little icon for my channel, which is kind of my symbol I went with for my channel. Kind of made it a thing to pay attention to games that have gramophones in them, see how many actually have them. Because a lot of games are set back in ye olden times or in castles and stuff, so you end up having gramophones. This guy's called the Sadist, butcher type. If you look here around the corner to the left of his arm there's actually a hook with keys, a bundle of keys hanging on it. It's not quite obvious right this moment, but if you walk over here, we can't run or do anything. We can only slow walk and crouch. But you try to open this door and you get a lock.
Locked. Shut.
A lock symbol. So now when you go back over here and look at those keys, there's a glow and a glint indicating, hey, maybe you should go mess with this. So I'm gonna wait for him to do his cycle again here. So yeah, be aware, I know quicker ways to some degree. Doesn't mean I can perform them skill-wise, but I do know of ways and things to do things quicker and where to go to some extent. Well, to most extent, I know where to go. So as soon as he starts walking, get up here and grab him. Gross, the intestines are hanging out. Ordinary keys, a keyring found in the mental hospital basement. These were in use long before the hospital's modern security system was put in. So we need to immediately leave. Just back up. Let's look at the gramophone. It's a nice one. Alright, he's coming. Alright. I don't know if he can see you crouched through this glass, so get over here while I talk my smack. He doesn't realize the keys are gone. But yeah, I do realize that I do know things about the game, and I may be playing or acting like I don't. But I'm playing it in a manner to show everything that I can, and to let everybody watching it see what the game's got going on. It's going to use the keys automatically. So I want to show you here, if you press the escape key, you'll get your load game, restart chapter, options, title menu. But you also are able to get into tutorials, any tutorials the game shows you, like the sneak, how to use sneak. That'll be in there to read again. But you also get archives, and if you go in here, the archive is where you keep up with all the collectibles in the game, what you've got and what you need to get, and if you want to read documents and stuff like that again. It's not really made clear. I don't know if the game even tells you to go in here to find it. But in your normal inventory screen that you get later in the game, you can't access this from there. You have to press the escape key and access it from the archive. But then you can press tab or whatever your gamepad controls are, and you can go through the different things below. You start off with personal documents, which are like Sebastian documents for your character. There's 16. And then there's general documents, 16, map fragments, 28, newspapers, 21, missing person posters, 15, audio tapes, like audio logs, 10, and then key item history is where you get items like what we just picked up. But this does not include locker key items, locker keys. They're not listed here. They are listed in the inventory screen. That's where you'll see how many of those you have. I wish it would show like how many there are in the game total and how many you've got or found, but I don't think it does. This is just for like key items, you know, to progress through certain things. So the only thing we have right now is one literal key item. But yeah, when I play games like this, guys, for my channel, I'm always playing them in a manner like it's a first-time playthrough. Just chill, you know, show you what I can, read documents, watch cutscenes, read descriptions on items, you know, explore, pick up items, go the wrong way, do stuff like that. That's how I play games, so that's how I'm going to play them for you guys. So once we come up here, the sadist, they call him, he just disappears. I don't know what song this is. This isn't the Claire de Lune song. I don't think it's part of that song at all. Maybe it is. That I mentioned in the introduction video. If you can even hear it. YouTube may be making me mute this for all I know until I try to upload this. See how we can crouch. Let me get back down here. Oh, well, I can do it here. So an interesting thing about the crouch mechanic, or the sneak they call it, when you're standing and walking, when you press back, your character spins around and walks this direction, and you move left and right. It's not tank controls, you have full like movement. Same thing when you crouch. You know, you can move in all directions. But one little thing that's not necessarily known is that if you're standing straight and you crouch and you don't move the mouse or move your left and right orientation, that actually doesn't matter. It's more the mouse. But when you crouch, you can actually backpedal and walk backwards. He won't turn around. He'll just back off. But he won't ever do that when you're standing. He always turns around. So that's kind of a good thing to know. He won't do it walking forward. So like if you're facing this way and you crouch and you press up to walk backwards, he'll turn around. But just be aware that you can do that, because you might want to walk backwards and not, you know, have to fiddle with your camera. So, something interesting to know. This game's got a lot of oddities around it. Technically, gameplay-wise, all kinds of things. So there's a lot of weird things you can pick up on and learn as you play. So yeah, this music may be being muted if I get a copyright strike. So we can look at the sadist's collection of chainsaws over here. He's got a fair amount of them, a couple saw blades over there. So you can see a little line right here. There's a tripwire. You just have to hit it because you have to go this way. But you can see it before you trigger it. And speaking of chainsaws, uh-oh. So here you can actually spin the camera around and watch the guy. He's behind you. He's really there, coming for you. It's gotta be quick. Here, all you have to do is hold up. And when you get to the end here, just spam the use key. So just keep moving forward. Little slip and slide here. So I'm going to go left, right, stay to the right. Kind of get centered. You're good. It's like the ball pit at McDonald's, except this one's got bodies in it. Gross. So yeah, the sadist actually got us there. He's injured Sebastian. So now we have a limp we have to deal with. So I'll say, notice this little spot here, this little open vent. So if you remember that for later. So we can still crouch and we move even slower. But we kind of got this little hobble now. Just gonna go through here. I didn't mention, right when we walked in the Beacon Hospital, in the waiting area there, where we saw the guy that I was mentioning we would see later. That's a good area to test your frame rate. You know, look around and see how it behaves. So you can walk down here. There's nothing down here. Nothing we can collect. Yeah, I pay attention to a lot of things in games. I mean, I think I do anyway. But I like to look at skyboxes in games, and I'm always interested in water. I like how water looks in games and the different ways. Oh, he's about to fall. The different ways games and developers implement water. So here you just have to fall down. So if the blood pool back there didn't help our injury in our leg, this nasty sewer water ought to help it. We can walk down here too. Nothing really down here at all. Just sightseeing. So you can walk all the way down there, but there's really no reason to do so. There's nothing down there. Climb. So I'll show you the crouch thing here again. Might be different now because he's got a limp. Yeah, he's going to turn around now because he has a limp. But when he's not limping, he will backpedal. It's just nice to know if you can, what you can do with your character's movement in a game, because in a game like this, you know, that's one of the key elements to success is at some point you're going to have to understand the movement of your character. See, every time I play this game, I always look at this thing for a while. I try to figure out what it is, and I still don't know what it is. This thing here to the right of the chair. It's not a copy machine. It's not a printer. I don't know what it is. If any of you in the comments know or have an idea what this might be in the middle there. The top looks so weird. Like, maybe it's like some kind of an engraver or a drilling machine or something, but why would it be down here? It's really dark. This part of the game is really dark. So it's really hard to see the details on it. I mean, you can obviously see the details at the top, but you can see through it there on the right-hand side, so it's not completely solid. But I have no idea what that thing is. Some nastiness up there. See roaches. There's probably roaches on the floor. Yep. So if you look, it's kind of hard to see right now, but I'll show you later. Up here, where it's better, more visible. We're gonna get our first note. Where's the exit? We're gonna get our first note right here. Old note from sewer. Beside the locked gate at the far end of the sewer, there is a ladder which would take you to the old ward. If you could make it through there, you would find an elevator leading you outside. You would be the one who escaped. You might be the one who survived. -R. All right. So let's see if that went into our archive. So it's not a personal note because it's not specific to Sebastian. It's a general document, so there it is. And we have one of 16 of those now. So, you know, this is not a 100% run. I'm going to try to get as much of this stuff for you guys as I can, just for myself and to show it to you. But there's no telling what I'm going to end up with and stuff. And whether or not at the end I even remember to try to like look in here and just see what I got before we beat the game. But don't expect me to get everything, because I'm sure to miss something. There's a ton of stuff in this game. So this one you can't even open or try. It's got like a metal gate in front of a door, so you can't even attempt it. Okay, so we got a lock here. Locked. Can't do anything with it. Yet. And then this one's got 2 locks, so... This leads down a dark path. This is a door. And if you notice there on the right side, there's a symbol, a star, and a little spike symbol, like you see in the logo of the game, the Evil Within logo. I won't spoil any of this yet, but it is a symbol. There's actually 3 stars. It's a tiny one, a bigger one, and then a big star, and then the spike. So there's a special symbol on this door. The signs don't really say much that we can read to indicate what's back here, so let's keep going. There's nothing in these. Well, we'll never know what's in them because you can't interact. You can't open these at all. There's just a long ladder to climb here. So we'll climb this. I realized this when I first played this game back the PS3, and I'll mention it here just because, you know, these are the kind of things you mention when you play games on a YouTube channel. But I thought the attention to detail was nice, that if you look down when he's climbing, his right leg, here you can see the gash. So there's the gash that the sadist put in Sebastian's leg from the chainsaw, but he's hanging his leg. He's not actually putting it on the steps when you climb up or down. He's just letting it hang because it hurts and it's injured. It's not necessarily something you would notice because, you know, your camera view is going to be more probably this way. But yeah, if you look down, he's doing that, so it's pretty cool. Nice attention to detail. Okay. So I'll show you something else here too that is also important information, especially if you're new to the game and or if you want to be a speedrunner for this game. You may not know this. So let's get back on the ladder. We can go back down here if we want. So let me show you this here in the options menu. Options, controls. There's a keybind here called cancel and burn. We'll get matches as a usable defensive and offensive item. But another item we can use matches to burn enemies with. And this is the key to the default key, B for burn, I guess, to use it. It also acts as a cancel button. So if you're, say, turning a valve in this game that requires you to do it for a while, you can still get hurt and attacked from an enemy, so you might want to cancel out of that animation to run and get away. So there's certain instances where you can quit what you're doing, disabling a trap, things like that. That's what this keybind is for. It can also do 2 other functions, which I don't think the game ever mentions or lets you know you can do. One of them being is you can holster your gun or your weapon this way. So if you have a gun out in your hand, if you press the burn cancel key, he'll put his weapon away and he'll just have nothing. And you'll say, well, why does that matter? Why wouldn't you want to have a gun out all the time? Because then you save yourself from accidentally shooting that gun. Plus, when you don't have a gun equipped in this game, there's a dedicated melee button, as you can see here, M for melee. But as you can see, shoot on mouse 1 is also a melee button, but it only melees when you don't have a gun out, or if the gun has run out of ammo, but it may just click like you're still trying to fire it. But no, it'll melee. That's what it will do. So no, it won't. If the gun is out and it's empty, it'll just click. But if you want to use the melee on your left mouse click, say, or this ability, your attacking ability, your shoot ability, you would need to holster the gun with the cancel key. So the holstering is one thing, but the main thing to mention, and this applies to the playthrough normally, casually, and speedrunning, is that the cancel function on ladders actually acts as a jump off of ladders. So you'll obviously be climbing ladders up and down quicker once our leg is healed, which it will be. We don't have this injured, slow movement throughout the whole game, don't worry. But if you're on a ladder at any given time and you want to get down, all you have to do is press the cancel key, and then this will happen. He just lets go and completely falls off. And there's no fall damage, so it doesn't matter. You can do this from any height. So if you're right here, once he gets up and you do it, he'll just fall. It doesn't matter if we're at the very top either. I'll show you again just so you can see this. But this is the quickest way to get down ladders, and it's obviously the quickest way when you're speedrunning this game. So if you're speedrunning, you definitely don't ever want to be climbing down ladders normally. So if you get about right here, so he doesn't completely go up, and then we cancel. There you go. So that's a very good thing to remember. The holstering your weapon, you know, like I said, that's one thing. But being able to jump off ladders like that is really cool. You can find out about it just, you know, looking online, but it's not really widely known, I don't think. Alright, you walk around the corner here and we'll get another note. This will be our second one. Boiler room note 1300. STEM system option test begins. Or STEM system operation test begins. 1315 success. Confirmation of brainwave synchronization. Losses minimal. Continuing experiment. Agent collects the data. 1330. Anomaly occurs, not with the subject. The stenograph claimed they weren't feeling well and then fell into a coma for reasons unknown. Doctor orders the STEM system terminated. 1345. Staff began complaining of nausea and falling unconscious one after another. Those who can still move plan their escape from the hospital, but for reasons unknown are unable to. The system STEM should have been deactivated. Subjects maintain brainwave synchronization with the host. 1400. That man appeared. Okay, so maybe the man in that hoodie that we saw in that cutscene. Okay, so that's our second note. Continue on here. Checkpoint. So we are getting, if you look at the load game here, so 41 minutes in. I think we're probably a little farther in than that. But that's our last autosave. So we're getting autosaves. We haven't, and checkpoints. We haven't been able to hard save the game yet, which we will be able to in a little while. But even as hard as this game can be, there's usually plenty of autosaves or checkpoints for you to fall back on. So don't worry too much about that. And I will say too, you know, there's no amount of weirdness that could happen in this game. And I'm even highly likely to have something happen to me that I've never ever seen happen in this game before, because it's just that kind of game. There's all sorts of things that could happen. The game could crash on me, which I hope it doesn't. There are spots in the game where you can get soft locked. I'll try to remember and point them out when I can, if I remember. There's just lots of weirdness in this game. It's just the nature of the game. It's not what you would call a very optimized game, put it that way. It's a well-made game. The game is fun and good and creepy and enjoyable and has a ton of replayability, but it's not optimized. And part of that optimization, or lack of, is due to it being a PC port. So, but even if you play these games, if you play Evil Within 1 on the PlayStation 3 or 4, say, you're only going to be playing this, or on the Xbox, maybe not the 4, but probably, but you're going to be playing this at 30 FPS. There's just no way around it. And the game is not really technically, it's not designed for 60. They just went in the game for the PC port. They're like, we can't port this to PC and not give PC users a 60 FPS option. So they just went in there, flicked an internal switch to allow you to play at 60, still left you the option to play at 30. Briefly probably tested it for 60, but I don't think they really tested this game for 60, because there's going to be a point coming up here where just playing at 60 FPS could still get me killed in a situation that's not really my fault. And it's because of sped up animation. When you play on Nightmare and Akumu mode, animations of enemies are automatically sped up regardless, just because of the difficulty. So when you compile playing the game at 60 FPS as well, the FPS is like superhuman sometimes, or the speed is like superhuman. And you'll see it in the playthrough. A lot of times when you get down an enemy in the game, they get up like super quick, like inhumanly possible. And it's because of the 60 FPS. So this game wasn't optimized well for 60. And you definitely do not want to play this game at 60 or above. I am playing it at 61, so 1 FPS over. But even at 60, it's going to be an issue. But I'm not going to play it at 30 either, because I don't want to deal with 30 FPS and all of the lag that's going to cause with either input, if nothing else, just visual lag. I don't want the visual lag of 30 FPS, so... The game is totally beatable at 60, it's just you're going to have more weirdness, despite just the random weirdness that can occur, so just be aware of that. I don't know exactly how things are going to be handled. Everything can be different given the playthrough each time you play the game. So guys, with all that out of the way, I'll stop here. This is a good stopping point because I know what's coming up here, so I don't want to necessarily get into that segment yet. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll stick around for this playthrough, and I hope you'll enjoy it, and I will see you in the next video. So thank you for watching. Bye.